Welcome everybody to another video. It is Monday here on JP, and we have gotten a bit of a update. Now, first off, just going to say that I'm going to be splitting a bunch of the stuff today into multiple videos for organization's sake, as well as my own sanity, so I'm not trying to just blurt out 100 million things. So let's start off with a little bit of a surprise, because we knew that this was a VC week. We knew that this was the FF9 event week. We knew that we were getting a new speed VC, but this is one thing that we did not know about, and honestly, I'm kind of still a little bit surprised about this. Now, over the weekend, I did do a live stream to which a lot of globalers came in and basically said that the issue with Gumi lately is the lack of communication as to what is going on, and I absolutely do agree with that. To an extent that I've been talking about it in the past as well, where we just don't get live streams anymore. It's not just a global problem, it's been a long time JP problem as well. Now that basically we just don't get any live streams, the devs don't really talk that much or make that much of an effort for communication. So it's not just global. I mean, yes, there are some live streamy stuff that does kind of happen, but it's from, like, it's not in the same way that it used to be. And I'm not much of a fan of it. So I guess I'm not trying to belittle global. I do realize that what's going on with you is a little more serious, but it does feel like communication is a little bit lacking on both sides, is what I would like to say. Speaking of which is this, again, coming back to the surprise. This VC, I had to actually go through Wotv calc on the global side just to make sure that this wasn't something that has happened in the past, that I've just never seen before. Like, it's been in the code for so long on global that I've never even seen it on JP, because again, we knew that there was a UR VC this week, but this VC seems to have come out of absolutely nowhere. It's weird also because it's an SSR quality VC. If you look, like, light, like killer on a VC, sure, for a dark and light party elemental 70 cost VC, or like SSR VC. What the hell is this? This is kind of weird that it's essentially being that. Like, and you look here and light ability, okay, all right, damage limit up, and all of this for a cool 2k on a 110 pull. It's weird. It's just weird. I don't really know how else to say about it. Like, this VC, there was no news about it as far as I know. Maybe it appeared in the day before kind of stuff, but I was absolutely kind of surprised by the announcement of this. Not that I think it's anything really serious. I guess the question I'm going to pose to all of you who are still watching the video by this point in time is whether or not you think this is a good deal. Because, yeah, I mean, lower cost VCs can be useful and you're getting it essentially right away and you don't have to try and hunt it down. It's an interesting strategy. Let's see if it pays off for them, Cotton. But now, moving into the rest, or at least another part of the update. First off, this new VC, which, you know, at this point, there's quite a few job-based VCs that are entirely speed. I mean, this supports katanas again, this supports spears, and it gives them a nice agility card that's permanently in the pool, so there's a lot of benefit to this. I'm not saying it's really that bad. Obviously, any 18% agility card is worth a serious consideration, but it is kind of funny that it feels like it might be a little bit overcrowding for this. Maybe just my opinion. The Ramza card, of course, still ends up the king of speed because it can just be used on every party with every character from now until the end of time. But if you are a spear-based user, yeah, this is a pretty nice VC. And sure, if you don't have a speed VC, probably a good one to potentially invest on if you are going for the new version of More, or the sisters, who are now working quite closely together. All right, so that's that. Let's move on to the next thing, which is talking about the Final Fantasy IX event. Now, we can basically confirm at this point what the Tetramaster upgrade is. I mean, there's not too terribly much to say. This is pretty standard type of event with standard missions, exactly what you would essentially it to be. But the old Tetramaster is upgraded with this, and we finally know what it's been upgraded to. 15 extra accuracy. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Yeah, that's basically it. There's nothing else here worth actually checking out. Like, that agility is dubiously good in certain spots, I guess. If you look at like what that had before, wasn't particularly that enticing. So I can't say that I'm really that happy. I mean, like, for the original 3, defense penetration up by 30, defense penetration and human killer for Zidane. You got HP and spirit for Garnet, and human killer as well as poison and berserk was also put on for you-know-who, BB. And then we have increased single target resistance and critical evasion, and the last but not least, which is a general buff for everybody, an increased accuracy of 50. This hasn't been used on the characters before, and I don't think that agility is really going to be that big of a deal. So let's move on and talk about the new piece of equipment, the actual Prima Vista model, which I do not have built yet because, of course, this is only a few hours in. So talking about the wearer, it's getting a critical resistance reduction of 10 before an attack and a critical rate increase of 20. So it basically plays on the whole crit idea. Zidane is giving him more single attack reduction for 2 turns to a critical target. Physical damage reduction of 10% when HP is more than 50, or 10% magic damage reduction when HP is more than 50. It does go a fair bit to making sure that Zidane is a little bit better, and it's interesting looking at this idea of decreasing single target resistance for 2 turns when performing a critical hit. Sorry, that was a little bit mixed up there, but I just clarify that right now because, sometimes words don't work so well. Decreasing 10 by 10 for critical damage and all of that, that's pretty interesting for Zidane. I don't think that it's enough still for me to recommend him. He was pretty far behind. He was not on anybody's meta tier list, so kind of needed to be more of an upgrade. Zidane, I guess, is still going to be just a, West-based character as far as that goes. As for Garnet, we're looking at healing power up and 200% chance for magical damage increase. A nice thing, but feels pretty minor, and again, needed probably a bigger boost for that, so moving on. BB ended up getting a debuff effect weakening of 15 and magic of 30%. It's a nice substantial boost because his DPS was essentially feeling pretty low before. Question is, does this beat other actual equipment? A 30% increase? I don't know. Can we think of anything else that would have a slightly bigger percentage than that? Anyway, now as for Kuja, I mean, silence resistance, don't move resistance, and magic killer magic human killer basically is a really nice potential option to have into the future. We've seen status effects kind of rise and fall. We've seen curse come along. We've seen paralysis. We haven't really seen silence come back. Silence always feels like it's going to be in the back pocket, and if there's a character with incredibly high silence to counter a lot of mages out there, well, it could be that silence resistance will be quite valuable. Again, while Kuja has definitely gotten a bit of a rough week with the new version of More, it's also pretty safe to say that Kuja is still very, very solid into a ton of matchups and a really, really strong character. So I'm not too terribly worried about that. This overall, I think, is going to just be an important option to have because, I mean, if you are going to get hit, if Kuja is going to get hit with silence, kind of nice to have a little bit of extra protection just in the back pocket if you can. So yes, that is essentially it for this event. There isn't really much else to say except for Kuja, More, the new version, of course, Hero King Mont, and Mont are all commander bonuses for this, so don't forget to set your commander for this event. Now, that's essentially the big thing that is not in actual character upgrades, and I probably am going to give it just a little more time to check on Vivi and Kuja, see if there's any final things, but basically at this point, it's pretty safe that I can comment about Zidane and Garnet, that they are fun units if you like the characters and you want to use them in quest or whatnot, or you don't care that much about PvP, just want to use the characters you like. It's perfectly fine, although at this point their upgrades have fallen essentially short of potentially what they need to be or what I would want them to be, leaving them in a bit of a sad state as Final Fantasy IX event will eventually just close out and go away, and we have to hope, I guess, for Master Quest 4 to really boost these characters again. But yeah, I'm not too terribly excited about using them. I have Zidane at 140, and that is essentially where he will stay for all eternity because he is just not good enough. VB, again, might actually push a little bit in. The kind of the closeout of this video is talking a little bit about Arena. Last week I used BB in Arena all week with X-Death and Shrekin, and it was a pretty solid team. It didn't win a ton. It didn't win as well as like the swapping out VV for a healer. That has felt way better in previous weeks. But at the same time, well, I was able to clear 5,000 without doing any refreshes whatsoever, and basically just doing my 5 a day and getting a pretty healthy win rate. So that's a nice, you know, communication of, in my opinion, of VV being a pretty good addition and being able to help with some wins and do well against some other teams. I'm pretty happy with where VV ended up prior to this upgrade. As for Kuja, yeah, he remains kind of the gold standard, and I don't expect that to change too terribly much. But yeah, VV seems like mages are the best out of FF9, and that's where we're going to cut this video. Thanks so much for watching. See you later.